Well, hello, my name is Chris Oppenheimer, and this is Real, Raw, Authentic, volume number 10. And today I have some of my very good friends with me, Darlene and Jerry Rankin. And I'm putting Darlene first because this one is about her. And today we're going to talk about abortion. So, Darlene, Jerry, thank you for being here. Jerry, I've known you since I was 7 years old.
I believe that's accurate.
Wow. And they came in today, and it was a divine meeting that they were even here today.
Yep.
And the topic that we get to talk about is something that's relevant. It's something that's on everybody's minds. But we're going to get real, raw, and authentic about it today. And we're going to have a conversation that we haven't even talked in years.
Right.
We haven't talked in years. And we're going to have a conversation because I've never known her story, but I have my own experience with abortion, and I'll share that a little later. But today is about Darlene. And Darlene, I know that you share in prisons. I know that your ministry is helping other women get through this because you have your own personal experience. And I was going through addiction. I always talked to Jerry. He helped me through that. You knew my story, but there were many a night I laid on the couch talking to your husband, and you were working with other women doing things, and he was doing his. And so thank you both for who you are in my life.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Jerry is a pastor now of a church, and we'll talk more about that. But Darlene, you had an abortion.
I did. I was 19.
19 years old. Share with me what that feeling was like as a 19-year-old girl, because I know there's a 19-year-old girl out there right now that's scared to talk to her family. I'm getting chills because when I was 19 years old, wow, I didn't expect this to happen. A girl that I was dating had an abortion without me knowing. And I didn't know until later. And I don't like to talk about titles because I know that we're all trying to get through this world. But as a gay man, that's more important to me now than it would have been when I was 19 years old. And I look at other gay men that have children, and I never got that opportunity, and I never got that say. And so there's so much that's going on, and it doesn't matter what anyone's political view is. We all have our personal experiences. And we need a solution. And the solution isn't in the left or the right. And it's, what do we do? And so how do we help people? And tell me what that was like for you.
It's a scary place. It's a lonely place. It's a confusing place. Honestly, my experience was I didn't really have anyone there who was speaking to me or talking to me. It was more about just sweeping it under the rug, right? You do something and you get yourself in a place where you really feel like your back's against the wall, so to speak. That was my presence of mind at the time. Not that it was a good way to think about it, okay? But you just feel like you don't really have any other alternative or any other place to turn. And so you rush into something and you don't really fully understand the threshold you just crossed over and the implications. And if I could expound on that, Jerry and I are very blessed to have 5 adult children, and we have 15 grandchildren.
Wow. Congratulations.
Very, very blessed. But the truth is we should actually have 7 children because of 1 aborted child and 1 child that I lost in a miscarriage. And, you know, what I know now as a grandmother is not only did I miss out on the opportunity of knowing those people, they were individuals, unique, beautifully created and made individuals that never had a chance to take a breath. But not only that, those people were supposed to have children that would be my grandchildren. So the ramifications of the choice is far beyond just the initial choice. Because there are grandchildren I will never know. And I come from that place because now in this season of my life, I'm a grandmother.
Yeah. and you got to be a grandmother, and I may never get to be a father, you know? And so I get that feeling that you had, because I have since made amends with the woman that was with. And it was years later, but it's because we both evolved as human beings. You know what I'm saying? Because I was resentful, and that was even a part of my addiction. You know what I'm saying? Along with knowing that I was gay. I mean, all these little traumas happen in our lives. But I could imagine being a 19-year-old girl, what she felt like, what you felt like, what somebody out there is feeling like right now. Mm-hmm. But what is the answer? We're in a place in society now where we're told, I am pro-life. I'm totally for life. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, unless I'm in a relationship with that woman, it's none of my business. It's between you and your doctor. And at the end of the day, what my concern is where we are in society is if we outlaw abortion, we take ourselves back to a place that is scary. And so how do you be pro-life, but make everybody happy? I think that's where we are. Like, we've got to get out of everybody else's business at the end of the day. It's between me and my creator. It's between you and your, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, why are we in everybody's business? And I sometimes feel like it's our own government that's done this. They put these big polarizing issues up in front of us because they know it's going to divide us, and then they make it about the right or the left. But when I talk to people like you and Jerry, I find out we're both pro-life. Mm-hmm. But why are we chose to decide you can't have an abortion, or you're going to have to go get a coat hanger? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we do? What's the solution? What would your solution be? Because you're a woman, I'm a man. What kind of choice should a woman have?
Well, if you want me to be very candid, one way that we can probably stem some of the problems is to just be either less sexually active or to be more proactive when we are, so that we don't put ourselves in that position to begin with. And honestly, if I'm being really truthful, I was being very careless in my choices at that time. I just was. I was living for the moment. I was 19. I was living for the moment, and I wasn't really looking at the long-term consequences of my choices. And I am pro-life, just like you are, Chris. But I also come from a place where I myself have had walked through post-abortion syndrome, which is a form of PTSD, and helped many women of all different ages also with post-abortion syndrome. So it's sort of painted like, you know, you can just do this and there's really no consequence to your choice. But I and many women that I have ministered to can testify that that's not true. And not just the women, but the men, which is why you teared up and it became emotional for you, because
it still is to this day.
Right.
It's just there.
It was your child as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so what happens is this can manifest in a person's life in a lot of different ways. And you said it already yourself. So how I see this happen, what happened in my life and other women and men's lives, substance abuse, abusive relationships, promiscuity, suicidal tendencies, depression, sometimes in rare cases, psychosis. There's also an issue when you do actually have and give birth to children later on. You have difficulty bonding with them. And this is something that you do that's like subconscious, where you don't even really feel like you deserve to bond with those children because of what you did, when you just toss this one aside as if their life had no meaning or purpose or value, right? And so the bottom line, though, is that all these different things that we do and how they show up in our lives, eating is called an anniversary syndrome, which is where every year at the same time, whenever they terminated, They get physically ill, they get depressed mentally, they just kind of get into a slump. And it's always around the time, it's like literally their body is grieving the loss and they don't connect the dots. You're so busy running past what has happened that you don't connect the dots and realize that some of the things that you're doing, these self-destructive behaviors, because that's what they are, cutting, self-mutilation, that's another thing, that they're all tied to that incident, which is why I, will do whatever I can to help someone to make a choice for life, if at all possible.
So, Darlene, that goes back to my question. We're pro-life. It should be a conversation to give somebody that choice. It should not be our government's choice, because if the government's telling us what to do, the next thing I know, I'm going to lose my gay rights. We're going to lose our rights to God. When the government, I just feel like we're in such a weird place in society. It's like, you want to help people, I'm going to give them, we have wisdom now. We've been through a lot. We're going to help people. And through our stories, we will save a lot of lives and guide a lot of people the right way. But for the people that don't have the wisdom, the knowledge, the people in their lives guiding them right, meaning the government's guiding them down the road they need to be. Right. What's the solution? How do we stop it? It's just normal people. Like every person I talk to is really pro-life, but they make it about us.
Right. No, I agree with you. Having everything legislated in a way where we can't make our decision for ourselves. I mean, let's be honest. God doesn't force us to do or not do. He lets us choose. And so when the government comes in and tries to play God and dictate to us what we can do or not do, the creator of all things doesn't do that to us.
So dictator, that was really good, because our government's really making it look like one side or the other is doing this. And really, that's not the case. And actually, let's go into some foreign countries, the European countries. This is not an issue anywhere else in the world, only in the United States. Jerry, you've been quiet. What do you think's happening?
Well, I believe that anytime you take the government and give them control over your life, you're asking for a partisan position. Depending on who's in charge this 4-year period or in the state you live in, it's going to dictate the direction that moral compasses get pointed. I'm a firm believer, get rid of every 3-letter acronym government agency there is and let people start to govern their own lives based on their interaction with their God. Moral compasses will allow you to make your own decision and be more at peace with it. But I also believe this. I believe that when the government got involved, they took away the church's ability to be involved. You want to know how to help these girls and these women that are struggling with what to do? I'm not sure that most of them want to go have an abortion if they were given the real truth about the trauma it's going to cause. It will cause that. I think if you gave the churches the freedom to say, look, we've got people in our church that want children, that can't have children. I think there's an avenue that if it weren't made so expensive and so hard and so difficult to do, that adoption is an answer. You offer this baby a life. You offer this mother the ability not to have that trauma, because we've walked through this. There's trauma associated with this, and it's for men and for women. Absolutely. It is so real. So
yeah, I totally get it. It's there for everybody, and it's like where I am is if I know one day I will get married and it's going to be a man. I don't know what y'all's view of that is, but that's between me and my creator, just like abortion is between, it's my moral compass. It's where I know I'm supposed to be, but I also know that if that man's younger, odds are he will be, just because I'm getting older and the ones I'm attracted to are younger. But if they wanted to have a kid of their own, I'm okay with that. Right. But I've always thought adoption was amazing. I'm cool with whatever happens. I just flow with my life now. But where I am is I want solutions. And then now the media, they're all talking about this pill. How do you feel about this abortion pill? I mean, it's just like, let's take a pill for this and a pill for that. I mean, my gosh.
There are some horrific stories of things that happen to women when you're told going in that it's going to be no big deal, right? You're not going to have, any real, it'll just happen quickly. It'll be smooth. It'll be all that. And they go through a very traumatizing experience, very painful experience, and very scary experience.
With that abortion pill?
Sure.
What give because I haven't heard any. I've never heard anybody talk about the side effects of it.
When you're passing all of that, it would be like a woman who's having a menstrual cycle, but it's more severe because your body is expelling what's inside of it. Right?
It's like having a miscarriage in a lot of ways.
Yes, and having had one of those, miscarriages are very painful, and I was not prepared for that. I had no idea. It wasn't something that anyone talked about. So I was not prepared for the pain that I was going to go through, the trauma that I experienced, or just even the emotional upheaval that it caused me, because it's a loss. And that's no less true with an abortion. Things and say they're okay.
But we're not.
But ultimately, I don't really believe that a person is okay. And that's why we do things like Medicaid and all these other things we run to, because we don't really want to face it. We don't want to really feel it, because it is painful. And I'll just say this, depending on gestation, so how far along a person is in a pregnancy when they terminate, that also can dictate the, first of all, the kind of procedure they have to have changes based on how far along they are. They're not going to do the same thing, okay? And with that, the level of trauma increases the further along you are because of what you have to go through. And also there's, if you don't have a lot of money, you will not be put under, and you will see and hear and experience, which is why it becomes even more traumatizing versus a person who has the money to be asleep during the procedure. They don't have the same memories and so someone who has that kind of experience, they have triggers. And the right triggers, and it sets them off to where now that's why it's a form of PTSD.
Yeah. And so what you said earlier is it's basically we've got to start becoming responsible for it all.
Yes.
I mean, our behaviors, it really started with internet, social media. And I mean, I'm slowly getting off of it. The podcast is the way I want to go because I want to make a difference in the world. I've done a lot of the wrong things, and it's time to, I say, if you put money in the hands of the right people, good things happen. Lately, it seems like money's been in the hands of the wrong people, and it's time for a shift for good. And I feel that. And just having you here alone talking about things that most people are at home being exposed to in the media, but they're hearing views and they're hearing interpretations, but none of these people are willing to share their real experiences with one another. And that's what real, raw, and authentic is to me. And I started going out in the jungle for ayahuasca to get my answers. And a lot of people are tired of being medicated. I know I was, and I want answers. I want to know what's really going on. And I still have 3 medications left. And my shaman said when I left, I didn't need them anymore. But I was home for 3 weeks and I'm like, oh, maybe I do. But I was feeling fantastic. And it's like, I'm ready to go back out. And what would it look like if women were, and I heard women, when I was at my ceremony, there were some women there that had had abortions, and you could hear them, I heard and saw things that is amazing, but like, oh my gosh, it happens again. But it's because I really have a passion for helping people. And thank you for being here and sharing this message. And I know that we want to give solutions to people and how we can make it better, but I really think you nailed it earlier. It's like, we've been promiscuous. We don't need to be having sex with people that we don't want a relationship with, the apps and all these things. I stopped all that. And sometimes people are like, how are you going to meet somebody? I'm like, you still meet people, but I watch people now. I watch their behaviors. I follow them on Facebook. Shoot, I can't even be followed on Facebook now. I'm on logarithm lockdown for 90 more days until July 5th. It's like everything I post that would cause somebody to think like this podcast, they want to take down. And Jerry, you said it, it's the 3-letter words. That 3-letter word approved that drug that women can take, and that they also approved everything else that's going on. And those are the X factors with what's going on with our health. If I learned one thing in algebra in school, it's what the letters mean. And this is the X factor to all of our health, because I'm watching all around the world what's going on, and all I want to do is make a difference. And so, Jerry and Darlene, do you have anything that you would like to impart in the world? I know that you're the pastor of Kingdom Point in Georgetown, Texas, just north of Austin. They're a small, humble church, but if you want real, because see, a lot of people have gotten away from God because organized religion, and it's a non-denominational church. Correct. You know, and it's bringing broken people together, sharing their stories and taking it and going into the world and making a difference. So what would you like to impart into the world, Jerry Rankin?
So my one thing, stop letting your decisions be made by politicians. Your involvement in the world with your right to vote, which is a privilege that's not all around the world. Take it serious, but you need to find your own path based on your relationship with your God. I have a relationship with my God that says morally he guides me. I don't think it's my right to tell you how to live or anyone else how to live. But I can tell you this, you should be serious about the path you're taking. You should study. You can study the Word of God. It's there for everyone to read, and it's not condemning. It's not condemning. It can be taken that way if you put it in the hands of the wrong person, and it can be taken, you've nailed it. As long as we put it in front of politicians, they're always going to try to divide us, Chris. It's always been true. It's the power and control that they have. And it's the one mechanism they do it really. The government doesn't do many things well at all, but they do control. And they've done that for decades. In my lifetime, I've seen it become so abusive and out of control. And this law that we're talking about needs to be overturned, but it doesn't need to be overturned and make it mandate the other way. It needs to be left to a woman and her relationship with the person. A person and their God need to make these decisions. And if you do that and stop mandating, what happened when your mother told you couldn't have that piece of candy?
You go do it.
You're going to get that piece of candy. And we're no different. When you tell me I can't do this, it becomes
going to prove you wrong.
It becomes a firebox issue.
Yep. And look what happened.
And we'll burn this country down.
Yes.
In the names of freedom, and that's not what we're exercising here. So I just implore everyone to stop being violent and crazy and stop listening to the government tickle these ideas and cause us to fight one another. I don't have a hatred in my body for anybody. Yeah. I despise the enemy that's not visible. The enemy of my soul, I despise. I'm willing to fight hard against him, but I'm willing to fight really hard for everyone else and their right to live a life that I pray for people to make the right moral decision, but it's not mine to tell you to make, because I went 38 years of never making the right one. But when I stopped being that guy is when my life changed dramatically. And here's the other part of that. When you do that, you'll start to have empathy and love for others that you've never had before. And you'll stop being judgmental about somebody else's lifestyle, because sin is sin. It doesn't matter what it's named. It does not matter what it's named. That's between you and God. And he has one word for sin in heaven. It's called sin. We list
complicated it.
We list them. It's lying. It's this. It's all. It's everything. But God just says, look, it's sin.
Yeah.
And so if we'd stop this categorization And if we would stop that so that you and I could lovingly come together, if we go eat lunch together, we'll sit in a room full of people we don't know that have if there's 100 people, there's 100 different ideologies and 100 different belief systems probably.
For sure.
But the truth is we'll all go in there and eat peacefully, most likely, and look at each other and say hello. And we'll hope that they have a peaceful, good life. And that's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
But if you give the government the keys to the car, they're going to drive us off a cliff.
Wow. So, Darlene, this was all about you. We kind of dominated, didn't we? That just now.
It's okay.
But we need to hear the peaceful side of it all.
Yes.
What would you like to share?
There are people out there that will help if somebody's in that position and they feel alone, that there are places that you can go that genuinely care, and they will offer you tools and solutions. I've been a part of that. It is a very difficult thing. It is a very difficult thing to walk through. And many times the reasons why we medicate and run off and get all crazy and out of control is because it is something that it's just so difficult to process. And we're not even allowing ourselves to grieve a loss because we don't want to face it. But there is hope. There is hope. And I am a walking testimony to that because of the doors that have been opened to me, the opportunities that have been given to me to love on and encourage other women and help them overcome and move forward with their life. And that's available to anyone who wants it. It wasn't just for me. Anyone who wants it. If you need help, I'm there, or I can point you to somebody who can help you in whatever area, wherever you live. I'll find somebody to help you. You don't have to walk it out by yourself. But make good decisions out of self-respect. Honestly, I was in a place where I didn't respect myself. And I'm not there anymore. And I will help anyone who needs help. There are people that care, and there are people that would either help you to place your baby for adoption and give it a chance at life. Or there are people that would help you to get yourself ready and to prepare and equip you to be the mother of your child. There are options available. Would it be sometimes hard? Sure. But you and your baby are worth it. A life is worth it. I'm so grateful for every opportunity I've ever been given to help somebody make a better choice than I made. And that's not to disparage anyone who's made the choice. I've been that person. There's help for you too. Anywhere you can go and get any kind of post-abortion help, I would absolutely encourage you to do that because it is an issue with your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being, and sometimes it can begin to manifest in your life physically as well. So there are things available to someone who needs it.
Wow. Well, thank you, Jerry and Darlene. I appreciate you for who you are. And Jerry, you've been in my life longer than Darlene, but you both are a very special part of my life. And, at Real, Raw, Authentic, really all I want to do is take stories of real people like myself and share them with the world. I think we're in a place and a time where it's time to bring humanity together and stop trying to make the other person wrong. Instead, use our wisdom of our experiences and share our story so another human being knows that they're doing the right thing for themselves. And we are not here to condone, to push, but we know that everybody really is for life. And we just hope that you make the right choices for your life. And if this message resonates with you, share it with another human being. If there's somebody that needs help, let one of us know. We'll make sure that it gets into the right hands. And we do want to make a difference. And if there's somebody out there that has an inspiring story such as this and they want to share, and you're in the San Antonio area, just give me a call. I welcome you. And I bless you all, and may God bless you and your families. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Chris.